we were on the bus shooting the bus scene, and it was on a bridge where men were lynched, black men were lynched. So that was sort of already, it was nighttime, and it was just, oh man, I can't even, I don't want to remember it, but it was on the bus, and it was hot, because there wasn't no air conditioning on the bus, because the bus was a period bus. And then we were on that bridge, and something about the alligators under the bridge sort of scared me. But what scared me most was that the remembering of black men being lynched on that bus, on that boat, on that bridge. And so I yell action, and as I'm yelling action, these KKK members are coming after me, I'm in the bus with the kids. The KKK members are coming, the crosses are coming, the signs are coming, the nasty words, the shaking of the bus, the swastikas, the bats and everything. And everybody on the bus is nervous, very nervous, and then, you know, I'm the director and me's thinking, I'm getting this, and then I got a little nervous. I said, okay, cut. But I'm in the bus, so they can't hear me outside, and so they keep going. And I say, cut, and then they can't hear me, so I go to the window and I'm looking at them. Cut, and they don't know that I'm just one, and they keep on. And I realized that, you know, that there was nobody to yell cut for these kids that were on that bus, and that those kids were heroes in a way that I certainly can't imagine being a hero. I don't know that they were ready to die for what they believed in. And I don't know that I could die. I could die for my kids, but I don't know that I could die for the right to vote. And it made me question, you know, what it was, what it really was ultimately all about. Yes?
Oh, go ahead. No, okay. Francine, the film brought back some childhood memories I have of some racist encounters growing up. And I wanted to know if either one of you could speak to a time or two that you encountered racism in your life.
You know, I used to live across, you know, there's a field by my house, and I used to cross it all the time. And when I would cross it, at night, the police and helicopters in my house, they used to always follow me, put a light on top of me as I walked across this field. They would be yelling, it's like it's the voice of God coming from this helicopter saying, what are you doing, what are you doing, who are you? Saying these are the same people that have been doing that for, you know, they know who I am. You know what I mean? I'm the same kid that lives over there. You know what I mean? Yesterday as I did today. You know, and I think one of the, I can't recount, I don't want to recount, but there's some that are, I think, so dark, deeply personal to certain ones, but it's one of the, I remember taking my kid home, you know, late, and I was stopped at the check cashing place, you know, I was trying to cash my checks, and
Cashing checks?
yeah, and police came and they started reaching inside the car when I was there, you know, they were talking to me, and they started reaching into the glove compartment and stuff, and I was like, no, you can't reach over my kid, you know, you gotta step back off the car, you know. I remember getting yanked out of that car, and all these police cars coming and stuff, and you know, surrounding me, and it was just kind of really deeply humiliating experience, you know, for you know, you're a kid, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of these types of moments, but I mean, I think trying to look towards the current healing, you know, human race, and trying to figure out how we can be healed from all that. I think this is a part of this film that we made, you know, to have the dialogue, to acknowledge, you know, so we can move to some form of understanding.
And, you know, I think that, you know, I don't, we are all in this room of color know that how it goes. So, you know, I encounter it every day, and I don't choose to recant. I think that I don't want to acknowledge it, because it happens every day, and I got a million of them from the time that I was 5 to yesterday. But I think that it's about what Forrest just said. You know, it's about just moving on, getting through it. Yes.
Mr. Whittaker, CCJ Johnson, Black Coast Radio. What was your process for developing this character?
Well, I mean, it's funny, 'cause it's Susan who, like, Oprah was working with. Yeah, so, I always try to understand, like, I started up here, I started to understand, I worked with Scott for a day about movement, as far as movement. I started to understand something about progression, like the moving down into age, or moving from heaven into, like, the earth, you know what I mean? And so I did have my attention up here, like, that I was held up by this part, and like, as each experience occurred to me in my life, and it started to fill me, my body, and stuff like this, that there was a slow process that would occur with the aging. As the film went on, and as I got older, I would be carrying the experiences inside of my body. So that by the end, if you looked at me, hopefully you could feel all of those experiences, all of those things that the character went through and stuff. So that was part of it. Then of course, technically, I worked with Butler Coach for quite some time on the dialect and so on, and worked on the dramaturgy of just the history and trying to understand how these events might affect me as they were going on outside of even the story, but were still going on during the time, and then grabbing these moments that they chose to tell the story and placing those deeply inside of the psyche. It's kind of part of the process.
Hi, I'm Kim with JubileeMag.com. Last night at the screening, you mentioned that the film was shot in 40 days with a budget of $25 million, which is small. How easy or difficult was it to get such A-list actors to sign on to the project?
It was easy because the material speaks so well. I mean, the script was very strong, and I think that the story was powerful, and I love I love working with actors. So it was it's hard to say no to me. Though Oprah said no a couple times.
Did you?
In the beginning, she had only because of OWN.
So if you had a larger budget, what would you have done differently?
God didn't present me with that, so I don't I don't think I would have done anything differently. I think that He gave me exactly what it was supposed. I wanted a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted this. I assumed because if it were Steven Spielberg, it would have been a $70 million movie, and so. But we all worked for a certain fraction of our fees, and so we did with what we had to do. We just we didn't have these elaborate trailers. We didn't have. It was what it was, and it was really a humbling experience. It was a great thing that I didn't have that kind of money, because what that does is that brings us together as a family. We were a family. We were a unit on that set. Mm-hmm. We were struggling to get that film made, and it became us. We were tight. We were close, and it was. We understood that if it were Steven Spielberg, we would have had a bigger party. But we've never been able to have that as African Americans, as filmmakers, as actors, and thank God we didn't. I'm okay.
I loved you when I fast answer with my eye. That's my favorite movie. My grandmother was
She said that's my favorite movie.
Yours too, yeah. My grandmother was born in Macon, Georgia, and they called it day work, actually, so they get home from me. I wanted to ask you, how did you find out about the book, and why did you want to do the movie? What was your inspiration?
Ray, I need some more sugar, because can you just give me some more sugar? Thank you. Huh? Honey? Thank you. No, just some sugar. It was based on a Will Haygood, thank you, a Will Haygood article that was written for the Washington Post. That was really good. And then Laura Ziskin, who was the producer of the film, who passed away, optioned it. and she had Danny Strong write a script. We developed the script for 3 years, and there you have it.
Hi, Simone from Magazine. From the opening scene to the closing scene, there was a depiction of the relationship with the father and his son. How important do you think in the African American community that relationship is for guidance and development?
Forrest?
No, I mean, you should talk about, I mean, that was the core of what the story, the central focus of the movie was the relationship between the father and the son, and exploring, like, even through the difficulties, and even through the breakups, how we can reconcile and keep family together, how the fathers influence sons, and vice versa. I mean, in the first one, I was influenced even by when the character says to the father, "What are you gonna do?" And then that occurs, and that event haunts my character for the rest of my life. And I started to utilize some of my own past in the way I try to raise my son, to protect him, to try to keep him safe. You know what I mean? And then it causes some of the frictions because in a way, even though it seems like we're totally different, he's still following in some kind of ways my footsteps and stuff. And I think, obviously, you know, with the sort of greatest single parenthood and stuff like that, as it is now, it does influence our youth to not have a balance of that energy, to be able to guide them and show them, especially at a time like he's talking about his son, and being able to let them understand why they're having to deal with the world the way they're dealing with it, the opportunities that they have, the ones that are broken from them, to feel strong in themselves as men, to bear their responsibilities. I mean, that's one of the motivations that you had for the piece was your relationship with your son.
Making the movie. I made the movie for my son. He was 13. I'm sure a few of you might have heard this now, but when I got the script after Precious, he was 13 years old, and we, you know, my dad died when I was young, relatively young, so I had no experience on how to be a father up to that point. I had no reference on fatherhood, and my dad was really strict to the point of borderlining abusive, and I didn't understand where that came from. Well, his father beat him, and his father before that beat him, and his father before that beat him, and his father was a slave, and it came from slavery. So what I did know was that, you know, that cycle, and that was, you know, what I learned from Precious, was that had to stop. So I didn't beat him, but I want to kill him now. But as he says, he would say, they're teenagers. He say yes, I say no. He say night, I say day. He say go to bed, I say go to bed. He say hell no. So it's just it's one of those things where and in this movie, it's a love affair with a father and son, which is universal, which is beyond color, and that was the beauty of this. That was the beauty of the story. The heartbeat is of a father and a son, and we never see, as Black people, we do not see this. We don't see it. We don't see it. And I take for granted. I just thought that we did see it. I thought, like, you know, what movies? And I couldn't think of, like, what movies are there really that address this? I remember maybe Claudine, you know, with James Earl Jones.
She's a single mom, you know.
But that was back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Really, that, you know, and it's almost like we don't have a family, you know, Huxtables, I guess, you know what I mean? And so for me, it was just not about, the movie was not about just a history lesson, but rather really showing us in a way that we have never been seen before. And we do exist like this. You know, they act like we don't exist like this. Well, there are mothers and fathers that care for their sons, you know, that are African American. You know, we ain't all deadbeats, you know. Anyway, I'm pondering. Next.
How important of a role do you think the church played in the whole civil rights movement, and how were you able to portray that throughout the film?
Cecil was a very religious man, and they had a crucifix over the bed. If you notice, even for those of you that see the movie again, go see the movie again. You'll notice that early Cecil's, the early Gaines home, in their living room, they had a white Jesus, and the current Cecil's home, they have a black Jesus in the same spot where that they had come full around, because that was what my parents did, so it was really based on, them taking pride in that Jesus could have been black or possibly was black.
And you had like in the church, you had a fundraiser inside of the church. It was dealing not just with SNCC, but I think because of Martin, SCLC, and all these different organizations that weren't named, CORE and all of them, but that are in the film. The representatives are standing right in front of us. You know what I mean? So you kind of you really captured the whole period. So.
In a funny way, because here's the thing, right when Gloria dies,
She was on the floor.
Huh?
I thought she was on the floor with her.
Oh, you did? Oh, that was that thump. Yeah, it was that thump. But when Gloria dies, the first thing he says that they're arguing, talking about the kid, the pretty baby, that's the ugly baby, the pretty baby, and then from nowhere, and this is the beauty of their relationship and the beauty of the spirituality of to answer your question about spirituality, the spirituality of Cecil and Gloria, they were fixing to go to church. So they sitting there fighting about this pretty baby or ugly baby, and then out of the blue, Cecil says, "How come Louis late? He get elected Congress, can't even take us to church on time." So, it was like this is the way old folks sort of banter back and forth. From nowhere, they're talking about a baby, and he says, "Where's he at?" He says, "Go get my Bible. You know I need my Bible." And it just reminded me of, family members that just start talking cuckoo. Anyway.
Speaking of some of the funny scenes, that it was bold but brilliant to add those funny scenes, even with the younger son and some of his funny moments. So how was it in making that decision to add those funny scenes in such a dramatic and bold movie? Or as far as the message is so powerful, but yet you interjected those funny scenes.
That the humor, when I learned my research, I'd done research even back to slavery, that they were telling jokes as they traveled over here, and that was the only thing that kept blacks, kept us alive, in slavery. Humor kept us alive, So and then during the civil rights movement, during those fearful times, humor kept us alive. And I was not going to, I wasn't going to, that was really dedicated to them, because that humor kept it moving. And also, it enabled us to breathe, because it was so tense that we had to come in there and, yeah. Yes, sir.
A question. I was curious about with your research. I mean, you both had to study also how to be a butler. From that research, has it changed your view of customer service or service in general, or the service industry?
It definitely, when there's service going on, and I definitely do sometimes think about it a little differently in the way they're doing certain things. And there's been a lot of hours with this butler coach, and he was showing me which angle you should put the coffee down at the table and stuff. So it changed my perception on what they're actually doing and stuff very much.
He's always nice to people, though. I'm the one that don't look at people when they come. When the Chinese man come deliver the food, you just give him the money, you don't even look at him. You know what I mean? Now I make eye contact. When I'm just giving the change. Yes, you have to. That's what it sort of helped me with. That's a good question too. Yes, sir.
I am Carl Gary, a film major at Georgia State. So I wanted to know if you have any advice for inspiring filmmakers.
Forrest is really good at that answer. Forrest is producing films. He's hiring young filmmakers. I did that. I'm focusing on my directing right now, but and I want to teach. Filmmakers is my intention to open a school. Hopefully one day. I work at the Ghetto Film School right now, teaching in the Bronx. But Forrest is hiring. You're the one that's looking at filmmakers right now.
Yeah, I have a couple of companies. I was fortunate to get to produce Fruitvale Station.
He produced Fruitvale
and
Station.
a few other films. One that just came out called Rising from Ashes.
Hi, NFL.
But I think you have to stay true to my point of view. To stay true to what you believe and what you're trying to say. It's those unique, individualized stories is what is going to make you a filmmaker that people really want to watch and follow. And it's the one thing that you can always maintain and hold on to. is that you stay true to that vision. I mean, I think it's the unique filmmakers like Lee, who have their own particular voice. I work with a lot of filmmakers from all over the world, auteur filmmakers, great filmmakers. And the ones that go into a room and see the room a little different and follow that, the ones who instead of coming in here looking at the people, look to the corner and see the wire, those guys end up telling stories that are really unique and special, and they're living in their reality and telling the stories that they believe in and they want to move towards. That's what I encourage people to do when I'm working, to follow them.
And you mustn't be afraid. You mustn't be afraid to tell, you don't want to tell a story because you think people will like it. You have to love it. You know what I mean? It has to be within your spirit. Yes, ma'am.
In the wake of things like Trayvon Martin and with the success of Fruitvale Station and all the things that are going on in America right now concerning black men, what would the two of you tell your sons on how to carry themselves, on how to behave, on just how to survive in America as a black man?
It's a very hard conversation to have, Race, with your son. It is an easier conversation. The birds and the bees was an easier conversation to have than the race conversation. To tell your son that he is less than just because, and that people are following you in the 7-Eleven, and him really not understanding why, really is I don't know whether it's bad parenting. I choose to look at it as bad parenting because it's just dealing with ugliness, and having to explain to him why it is that your neighbors your white neighbors can get a taxi before you can if you're standing in the same spot, and the taxi driver will get past you. It is a ugly conversation to have. The movie explains it, because I think my son understood so much about what we went through, what we are going through, and why he's dealing with what he's dealing with. And so I believe God had me make this movie for him because he knew I was too afraid, or not too afraid, but just I don't know how to have. It's like a hard conversation to have, to say, I don't want people. I want him to feel loved by everybody, white or black. And I can have hardcore conversations when we've had the drug conversation, and we've had the sex conversation. But that's a deep conversation to tell your son, to carry that, because I know what he's going to live. I know what I've gone through all of my life, and I don't want him to go through it. So it's sort of, I don't know. It's a.
Do you give him
hopefully
pointers?
The movie, huh?
Do you give him pointers about some people say if you go
Well, the
to
hoodies
store-
the hoodies sort of, but that we do that superficially. Take the hoodie off. Take the hoodie off. Why? So and so got to take your hoodie off, and we don't. And it's sad because I haven't been able to really go say, this is the reason why you have to take your hoodie off. I mean, I assume that he knows because of Trayvon Martin. That it's just that unspoken sort of thing, but I've not had a heart-to-heart with him to say this is the reason why. And I think that the film he learns so much because they learn more about Diary of Anne Frank than they do about us, about what we went through in their schools.
I just want to know from a director's standpoint, from an actor's standpoint, what do you want to say in terms of young people fighting, older people fighting, and just having a conversation about those kind of progressive policies?
I'm still on his question. So let me just go back to your question again. Here's the thing, because I want to make sure I wrap this up good. I did a movie called Precious before this film. And the film, and I heard you, but I was just make sure that I circle back and I'm very clear. I did this movie Precious, and in doing the movie Precious, I had to study AIDS. I had to study people with HIV because Precious has HIV. And so I go into the Gay Men's Health Clinic in New York City to really do my research in the 80s. And so as I walk in there, I come into this room, and I'm expecting to see a bunch of white men that have AIDS, HIV. I mean, it's like, you know, it's a big, like,
Mhm.
bigger than this room. And I come into the room, and there are a sea of women and children, all black. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm in the wrong room, I'm in the welfare office. Well, I'm not in the welfare office. I am in the Gay Men's Health Crisis Center in New York City, Chelsea. And there are nothing but African American women that are in with their kids, all of whom are infected with HIV. They have HIV. They have it. They have trumped gay men with HIV. And the reason that is the case is because we are dealing with, in the African American community, you know, black men have been castrated since slavery. So the concept of homosexuality or being homosexual is an embarrassment. And they have dealt with it in very insidious ways, the community. We have to be strong black men. And in doing so, they have denied who they are. And in doing that, the church says, your parents say, your co-workers say, your neighbors say, your friends say, that you can't be out. And in doing that, they are infecting our women. They're infecting our beautiful black women with HIV because they're afraid. And so, I did that film, Precious, for all of those African American men that are afraid to come out because of fear. And I think that it's a very powerful thing to own one's sexuality and to own up to it. And it's anyway. What was your question?
I was just saying, in between Forrest's character and the son, that was
Back to an easy question.
That was good.
I think with this group.
But I just wanted to know, just between the father and son dynamic in terms of progressive politics and the more radical thing, you know, they were both fighting the same fight in terms of trying to really change the way the whole like race dynamic is being viewed in the United States. Just from a director standpoint and an actor standpoint, what kind of story did you really want to convey in terms of what young people as well as older people can do in terms of changing politics, but yet still building that bridge in terms of fighting for
Forest Whittaker.
I mean, what Lee succeeded in doing was pretty great. It's just like having these different points of view about how you protest social injustice. You know?
Absolutely.
From my point of view, as my character, and making my presence be the opening door for many other things and many other people. But my son was like pursuing civil rights and social injustice and trying to make that happen through many different organizations. He was trying to find his way. He went from many different organizations. He was with Martin, he was with Panthers, he was moving, but what he was looking for and what I think the movie tries to say is that you need to stand up for social injustice.
Right.
And the way that you can do so in a way that really works, you know, for you. And I think what's beautiful about the film is that he explored all these different ways that people do go about standing up for human rights. You know, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You took the words out of my mouth. Yes, sir.
And this is gonna be our last question, sorry guys.
We got one more. We got this. Thank you.
Yeah, we got it.
There you go.
So I heard a lot about the movie had struggling coming out. It was with the name, the title, early on directors were kind of being chosen, but it got chose to you or sent to you. I just want to know of a movie that's showing struggles and how mankind has struggles of sorts, how that relates to the fact that the movie's title had to be, your name had to be added to it. You know, they were not trying to let it come out, so it kind of, the movie struggled in itself to show that.
Yeah, every movie's is a miracle. Every movie's a miracle. Black movie's a phenomenal miracle. It's like, you know, and this film, you know, I didn't really know about the name change until I don't know who told me. It was sent to me. Certainly my studios, the studio didn't tell me. And it was sent to me, and I was like, what, you know, I was in my edit room, and when I'm in my edit room, I all about giving birth. Making a film is really, is like being in the cocoon for 2 years, and you just, you don't step out of the cocoon. For me, my process is I don't take care of my body. I don't really pay attention to my partner. I don't really pay attention to the world events, and I don't pay attention to my kids. I'm just, it's really all consuming because you give it your all. And so when that's why I was so shocked. I'm going to divert a little bit. When I was so shocked when the Trayvon Martin thing happened, because when we wrote those words, any white man could kill anybody and get away with it. Trayvon Martin hadn't happened. When we did the Lyndon Johnson scene and him passing the Voting Rights Act, the Supreme Court hadn't done what they did. And so, for me, when they did the title was something that was just, it was between a studio and Harvey, and that was some stuff, I'm not Tyler Perry, I'm not Scorsese, I don't claim to be, I'm just a filmmaker, and I didn't want my name on the film. And I think that what was upsetting, and I'm still trying to deal with now, because when I stepped out of the bubble of the cocoon, I was like, name is, the MPAA said this is the name of my movie. And it was disturbing to me. First of all, you want to title my movie, and you want to then make people, because I want to teach. And I don't want kids to think that Lee Daniels thinks that his name should be on the Butler. It's obnoxious. And so, I don't know how I'm dealing with it right now. I don't like that I was forced to do it. And I don't know that that's the message I want to send to kids, that they have to put their names on the title of the film. But, I'll take it. I got the movie made, and I'm happy with it. One last question, yes.
How involved, this is kind of funny, but how involved were you in the character development? I don't know if the other ladies had this type of, but when I saw the underarm hair under Yaya, I was like, that was so real. Like, that gave me everything of who she was. Down to Terrence Howard with the two. Down to the women were more voluptuous, and they were full of, and they moved, and they danced, and they were, how involved were you in those choices? Yeah, I thought that was
Forrest will
wonderful.
tell you,
Yeah, he was asked Terrence, but about his, did he have any teeth that were missing? And then asked him to take the tooth out, which I was like, wow.
Yeah. And the hair under the arms and stuff like that. I'm a stickler for I'm really, really into detail. I would look deep into before I yelled action. I don't care how far away that I knew that I was shooting them. I'd come into their, right up into their faces like this, like this.
With a microphone, like a microphone.
And he got used to it, but Oprah was like, "What is he doing?" And finally she was like, "Look up." She just was like, "No," I said, "Open your eyes. I need to see your eyes." So it was I think part of filmmaking is capturing the nuance of the moment and making sure that I knew that you look like my cousin, or that you look like my auntie, or that you look like my sister, or that you look like my neighbor, or the guy at the corner store, or the number runner, you know what I mean? And it's all about it. That makes it real for everybody here to experience.
Yeah, it was really great. Underarm hair was like right there. It's like, wow.
I think people say that when you got Terrence to take his tooth out too, that it wasn't just, because it's not just a statement about Terrence, about the fact that she would want to kiss this guy and all that. She thought it was a statement on who she.
Well, I have to tell you something. Because what happened was that with that same day, because we didn't have much time to shoot it, and so I said to Terrence, how do we get Oprah to be real? What do we do to get her real, like rough her up? And I said, "You got your teeth, all of your teeth." He said, because he knows anything's possible. I said, "Take them out. Go to the dentist, take them out." He said, "Lee," I said, "Well, what does it say about a woman that kisses a man without no teeth?" He said, "You are wrong. You are wrong." And so he did. But then I was going to trick them all, and I don't know about this. But the only reason why you couldn't, I think you were in makeup, because he changed three different. Sometimes he was changing 3 different, like old Cecil, young Cecil is like in one day. But when they were in that doing that Hager thing, I was gonna have him come in and catch them.
Oh.
I was gonna do that, and
I played it like I knew though.
but you sort of did, yeah, right, you sort of
Yeah,
did.
when he died, you know, I wasn't, you know.
Yeah, you're like, maybe he got what he deserved. But I was gonna have you come in and, but I couldn't, because you were, but you were, like, you were 100 that time.
I was
So-
still-
I was gonna have you come in, I was gonna fuck them all, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and we couldn't do it, and I was really,
And it would've been
because they
fun.
wouldn't have known. Like, what would have happened in that scene if Terrence was sitting there like this doing that, and your wife was sitting there next to you, what would have happened? So, I mean, you know, that's what I was trying to do, but
Wow.
he was too old.